Hey. I got my loud friends here today, so we good. Facebook Live, thank you for tuning in tonight. On the table today, we got Coach Fields from Western Northeast,
Exactly.
and we got Wes Mitchell from the Gamecock Insider.
Yep.
So make sure you go ahead and comment throughout the night on our Facebook and our Twitter pages. If you got any questions about any recruits, today is a recruiting special, so we'll talk about the Gamecocks recruits. We'll talk about the statewide recruits going on, and also on the show we'll talk about some other key guys that could be key players for their selected schools. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Now we good. What's going on, everybody?
What's going on?
Tuning in to the Walk-Ons radio show on our iHeart and iTunes podcast. Thank you for tuning in tonight. On the table today, we got Coach Fields from Western Northeast.
Hey.
And also on the
He's
table.
here.
Yeah, he's here, everybody. And then from the Gamecock Insider.
GamecockCentral.com.
That too. We got Wes Mitchell. How you doing, Wes?
I'm good, man. Glad to be here. Good week to be here, I think.
Oh, yeah. This is the busy time of the year. Well, this year it is because this is the first time we got early signing period in December. So
It's taken a little getting used to, but tomorrow feels to me just like signing day. You know, it's the early one, but this has almost become the default signing day, I think, for a lot of programs. Most of the FBS schools, they're trying to go ahead and get their whole classes signed, I feel like.
yeah, so we'll see how it goes, but make sure download our podcast on iHeartRadio and on iTunes. You can find that at the Walk-Ons Radio. And then also on our social media, on Facebook and on Twitter. Make sure you go ahead and hit the follow button and the like button. And share the message of the Walk-Ons Radio Show on Free Thinkers Radio. And also visit our website at www.freethinkersradio.com. Let's go ahead and get started with the Pick Six, as we do every other night. First thing first, Jerry Richardson, the owner and founder of the Carolina Panthers, decided to sell the team after some allegations of some misconduct in the workplace. There's a lot of stuff that has been revealed about some racial slurs here and there and some sexual misconduct. So Richardson is now selling the Panthers. How y'all feel about that?
Well, we have to be grateful for his efforts to bring the Panthers to the Carolinas.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, there have been some allegations that have probably moved him towards having to get rid of the team. And hopefully, if there are victims or what have you, or people who are making those allegations, hopefully they can be compensated or whatever, you move on forward with their lives. I understand some careers have been totally manipulated. But it is sad.
Yeah,
It's definitely sad.
Wes?
Yeah, and I think, I read the Sports Illustrated article, and, if, like, any percentage of that, is true, then this is kind of what he has to do, I think, because the way it reads, it kind of just speaks of someone who held a great deal of power over the women that were, working for the Panthers, and just the fact that they kind of seem to feel like they didn't have a voice to sort of speak out against that, I think is sad too. So, anytime there's allegations, I think, you immediately think innocent until proven guilty, but then at the same time, when there's so many different stories of this happening and it's different people and it's different settings and stuff, then you would think some of that's probably true, at least to an extent. So I think him selling the team and sort of moving on, I think is probably what's going to have to happen there.
Yeah, like I said, it's the right move, especially in today's climate where everything is being revealed as for owners and founders and TV show hosts and stuff like that. And, for them to actually take that step to resign and step down, good move for them, so it won't be a distraction to me personally. he probably could have waited until after the season, so it won't be a bigger distraction. But any kind right now, it should be just fine for him. Give it the Panthers, but also in talking about the Panthers, Diddy is in the news also, saying that he wants to buy not just the Panthers, but the North Carolina Panthers. So me personally, I'm a big Panthers fan, and I think that's a big disrespect. Yeah, I'm like, don't buy the Panthers.
Let me go first.
Get the name right.
If you're gonna come out and want to be taken seriously about this thing, you can't.
You can't get the name wrong.
You disrespect the whole state of South Carolina, because there's already this thing with the Panthers of like, well, they're in Charlotte, and Falcons fans come at Panthers fans like, well, they're North
even
Carolina
Tampa Bay fans too.
Yeah, it's an insult to the whole state, which their training camp is in this state. Their first inaugural season was in this state, and if you're a Panthers fan, you want to feel like that they're the Carolina Panthers. So the very first thing you can't get the first word wrong.
No, not the first word wrong, and then two, saying Kaepernick, which I hope Kaepernick gets a job, but to take away our franchise QB and talk about competition, I mean, what competition is out there? To me personally, I think Newton is better than Kaepernick. To me personally, yes, but
I would definitely pick Cam over Colin.
Yeah,
there's no question about it. Durability.
Colin is his own team.
Yeah, if he's going to make a comeback, he needs his own team.
But in the latest news, I know Kaepernick said he wants to help join in buying the Panthers. So hopefully that's a sign saying that he don't want to play. He just wants to be part of buying the team. So who knows what's going to happen? Did he say he's going to have a great halftime shows if he does buy it? So have Janet Jackson back in Carolina.
Well, 1 year I think he did the NFC Championship game halftime. I think he had 2 acts that were out there, and the viewership increased when he had that. I mean, him working with NFL Entertainment may be a reality.
Yeah.
Mr. Combs as an owner, I don't know if that's going to work out all right, and I don't think he can get the Panther organization.
Yeah, and I mean, he's obviously hit on so many avenues as a businessman that have been successful. Yeah. I just think maybe talk it over and go through it a little bit before you come right out and do what you did, I think.
Yeah, don't pull a Trump and just name the wrong things. Just get the name right. If we got the name right, then we probably would went from everything else. But of course, that's what happens when you don't get your facts straight. Next one is Lane Kiffin gets his 10-year contract extension just in with FAU, Florida Atlantic. If y'all don't know, he turned that team around from the worst team in the history of college football to one of the good teams or surprising teams so far this past season. How y'all feel about Lane Kiffin getting a 10-year contract extension?
I'm going to say this. There's no way he's there for 10 years.
Exactly. So that number is just floated out there. It's not a realistic number. I mean, if he has another season like he had this year, then he's, a viable candidate for a larger job. But that being said, with other coaches out here, does anybody stay for the length of the contract now if you're in that number? And I don't think Coach Kiffin will finish out 10 years at FAU. But, stranger things have happened, and we'll, live to see it. But what a great place to have his resurgence in South Florida, where there's a plethora of talent that he can attract around the corner and get guys to stay at home and play. I mean, hats off to him. That offense was record-setting this year, and they were able to do a lot of dynamic things. So, kudos to him.
Yeah.
I think Lane Kiffin is good at 2 things, among other things, but primarily 2 things: calling plays and getting Lane Kiffin's name in the headlines. So
he is the master marker.
He is, man.
So if you're FAU, ride the Lane train as long as you can, because this puts you in a position to be a better program, have more talent, be a cooler place to go to prospects. To me, it's not just, Lane Kiffin's going to be there, I would say probably 1 more season, maybe 2 more. Get the most out of this, and then maybe you get that that up and coming hot shot coach that wants to stay 5-6 years, and you can sort of build off of this. I think for them it's about taking what they have here, and they took a little gamble and going and getting Lane Kiffin, and now can they sort of parlay that into a guy that maybe wants to stick around a little bit longer.
Yeah, Kiffin knows what he's doing as for being there. I don't know if y'all remember the before the season started, that video that came out, being like, "Welcome to FAU." I can't wait to be an owl. Like, okay. Like that wants to drive you to be at that college and play football for him. But he knows what he's doing. He knows that, all the shenanigans and tweeting about Saban and rat poison is all daggers to say, hey, I'm still here. I can still coach. He coached at USC in Tennessee, so.
Master marketer.
Oh, yeah.
I am convinced that he was just dying for Tennessee to offer him the job just so he could turn them down on Twitter.
Yeah.
And be like, I'm not going.
I'm pretty sure he was screenshot like, hey, just for reference, Tennessee called me back the other day, and guess what I did? I turned them down.
I turned down Tennessee.
Decline.
I'm pretty sure nobody would mind turning down Tennessee. A lot of people did, but except for
Coach here turned them down, I think.
Wait a minute. No.
Really now?
No. Wait, let's get that right.
I was saying, I understand about Tennessee situation, but I gotta take the money.
Yeah.
I can use Tennessee money right.
I got the keys from Lane, and he told me to open the gate.
One more minute here now. Last night, Kobe Bryant, his two jerseys, number 8 and number 24, was retired last night. Among in attendance at Staples Center was Shaquille O'Neal. He had Dr. Jade. He had Robert Horry was there. Fisher. Allen Iverson was even there. So, Kobe Bryant deserving of these two jersey retirements last night.
The best photogenic opportunity of the night last night was the picture of Kareem sitting next to Bill Russell.
Yeah.
Going forward, I don't know how much we have big men on the court that can do the type of things that those gentlemen innovated. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was very poignant to see them sitting together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I've been so into the recruiting stuff the last 2 days, I did not get to see that other than just Sports Center clip. But I will say this about Kobe, and I am not a huge NBA fan. I'm a college basketball fan. But the thing about Kobe is when Kobe Bryant was on TV, you watched, and that he went out. I will never forget his final game. Yeah. Even as a non-NBA, non-Laker fan at all, I watched that entire game start to finish, and he did not disappoint.
Awesome. We brought back at this commercial break. Stay tuned.
Replay. That song on your radio you just can't hear enough.
You gotta get some chapstick. Oh.
Hey, man, you're doing a fabulous job. How do we sound out there? How do we look?
Look good.
You right? Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Kill me. I didn't know you were going to me first. I was like,
Well, right now, halftime score for the Carolina basketball game, Clemson's 31, South Carolina's 26. That's halftime for the South Carolina basketball game.
we can come back.
South Carolina, Clemson.
We'll come back.
My name is Krista Dickerson. Make sure you tune in to the Walk-Ons on freethinkersradio.com.
All right, we're going straight into the game clock inside, all right?
Go ahead.
I give you 5 seconds. Welcome back to the show. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media on Facebook and on Twitter. And then also find us on our podcast on iHeartRadio and on iTunes at the Walk-Ons Radio Show. And then also find us on our website on www.freethinkersradio.com. And we'd love to hear from you if you got any kind of comments or questions throughout the night as we talk about pre-signing day, as signing day is tomorrow. Cyclones is looking to get a lot of signings in, and Clemson and SC State, all of them. So a lot of teams around the state is looking forward to see who will sign and who will not sign, should I say. So we're looking forward. If you got any questions of those nature about who, if you got any questions about that particular player, make sure you send those in tonight, and we will definitely answer them for you. Let's get straight into the game clock recruiting. As we said, signing day is tomorrow. The early signing day period started this year, as for getting started earlier than the actual day itself, which was in January or February, I believe.
Yeah, is normally you've got National Signing Day is the first Wednesday in February. This is the first year they've done this. Starts tomorrow. It technically runs into Friday, but most of the kids tomorrow's just sort of become the default early signing day, I guess you will. And I think for most of the guys that are already committed somewhere, the majority of them are going ahead and signing and making it official. Now, I think on both sides, if a guy is committed somewhere and he doesn't sign tomorrow, then that school is probably going to be like, wait a second, maybe his commitment is not as solid as we thought. And on the other hand, I'm sure there are schools out there who maybe are not sending out letters of intent to kids that are committed, and then the kids saying, okay, this school doesn't want me as bad as they maybe did when they first offered.
Yeah, I knew, through my time at high school, if you didn't send that paper in, you done.
Yeah.
You might as well try out different processes, but we at a different age now where, you can take this signing day period and then all of a sudden just wait until next time to decide what you want to do. So, different day and age now as times are getting older and older. For South Carolina, as a big Gamecock fan, I'm pretty proud to hear two big state players are now joining the Gamecocks, as in the Carry-On Joyner and Bryce Thompson. Bryce Thompson decided to commit to USC a couple days ago. Joyner decided to join the Gamecocks some time ago also. What do you think about those two assets to the team for next year as we continue to redevelop this team?
Yeah, I think that there's probably nobody in the state that sort of upped their stock more than Bryce Thompson this season. I think he was a kid that has always been a very good football player, and if you saw him play, you're like, all right, this kid is talented, but there was always questions about him. And I don't like to talk a whole lot about a kid's academics or anything, but Bryce has been very open about saying, publicly in the paper, online, he said, look, I had some things I need to take care of. So I think the fact Bryce has sort of matured past that a bit down the stretch and getting himself in a position to be able to, go to South Carolina. And, you kind of had the questions of, okay, he's at Ben Lippen. Is this competition the, how much do you take that into as a factor when you're deciding how good of a football player he is? And then he goes to 5A, wins another state title, dominates, and, plays well at Wildcat quarterback, running back, receiver, cornerback, safety, punt return, kick return. Just plays everything and plays it all well. Yeah. And then, wins a state title. Is very important in that he's not just on the field. He's out there. He's the guy making plays. Then Shrine Bowl, he's arguably the best player on the field there, in the top, 5 guys there as well. So I think Bryce Thompson has gone from being a guy that we all were like, okay, this kid's pretty good, to being like, okay, this kid could probably play anywhere, I think. So Bryce, to me, is right in that conversation. Darion Kendrick, that's at South Point, that's going to Clemson. Ever since Xavier Thomas left the state, Darion Kendrick's sort of been the top guy. He's been the guy. But I think Bryce is actually knocking on that door, with Darion Kendrick. And then the Carry-On Joyner, it's kind of been a different sort of path in that we've all sort of known the Carry-On Joyner for a while.
Yeah.
We've seen him.
Right.
He was in Williams-Brice, I think, as a sophomore.
Exactly.
Winning the state title. Has put up numbers. He struggled a bit at the Shrine Bowl, but we've all seen what he can do throughout his career. So both those guys, and both those guys you could tell want to be at South Carolina. I feel like the Carry-On is recruited incredibly hard. And the fact that South Carolina sort of stuck with Bryce when other schools backed off because of the academic stuff, but Bryce has sort of stuck with South Carolina and worked towards that goal of being able to sign with them. So I think both those guys are dynamic pickups for different reasons.
I do know they love some Chapin players. They got Hank Manos this year. They got the tight end last year. With Hank Manos, he's 6'4", 275. Definitely adds some meat to the offensive line, especially for what we try to achieve for the next coming years in protecting either Bentley or Joyner. Who knows we'll get it. What's the addition for Hank Manos? How would that be?
I like Hank especially for two reasons. One, just his mindset. This is a guy, he's enrolling early, so he's going to be there in January. And when you talk to Hank about, are you excited about being at South Carolina? Are you excited about starting college? Within the first 5 seconds, he says, it's time to go to work. Like he's a guy that, especially as a center, I think that's the mindset you want to have your center, because, your center to me is not always going to be the most athletic guy on the line. You don't have to be 6'6" with long arms and super athletic like you do at left tackle. To me, the center can sort of set the stage for the rest of the line, and sort of they can take on his mindset. He's got to be a sharp dude that, likes to, watch film and stuff like that. To me, that's what Hank Manos is. And then the second thing is he's got a wrestling background, state champion in wrestling as well. All that stuff, using your hands, leverage, stuff like that, I think just can transfer over to the football side of things as well. Coach Gentry, I think, said that, he wished all his offensive linemen had that wrestling background.
Yeah, wrestling is very important for the lineman because if you have to want to get engaged with your opponent right in front of you, and you have to love it. And if you don't have that attitude that want to get down in the slop and really work, it doesn't work. But you can see the future of that offensive line being molded and crafted. And I think, that's, if you watch when they're, in game, you can see that they enjoy contact. And that's a necessity, a definite necessity.
Yeah. To the topic of Stephen Gilmore, Stephon Gilmore's brother. We do know he look at different schools, not yet committed. We see North Carolina as a possibility, or South Carolina, the battle between the Carolinas. Coach, how you feel about that one, Dan?
I think you look like you got something to say on it.
I feel like I'm put on the spot. Hey, let me say this. Very dynamic young man. Mm-hmm. I've had a chance to be around him a little bit, small bit, but 2 years of going up against him and watching him put up a lot of points against us. I've watched him. A great talent. I am wishing nothing but the very best for him and his family. I think that he will make a decision, and I'm hoping that in some kind of way that maybe he could end up here in Columbia or wherever. With this new signing day in place, I think it has kind of put some students in a precarious position where they may have let an opportunity slip or not taken advantage of an opportunity. And there is no cookie cutter decision making process that parents can use to help their children make a decision about where to go to school. And I think that he will get a scholarship somewhere, and I think that he will play, and I think that he will be an effective player on the next level.
Yeah, and I think that, like you said, there's no right way, because sometimes the guys that are patient and wait it out and then have a huge senior year, they end up just completely blowing up and getting offers from all types of SEC, ACC. But then we see every single year, it's not just Stephen Gilmore. We've seen this happen to other kids.
Yeah.
We saw it happen to Austin Connor at Dutch Fork last year. So this happens, and I think, and if parents ever ask me, I always say, if you know where you want to go, then by all means go ahead and lock that thing in as much as you can. If you don't, that doesn't mean you have to go ahead and commit if you're not sure. But if you're positive or you're pretty sure that's where you want to be, go ahead and lock in that commitment at least.
I commend you, because last week you had a parent reach out to you or say, I want to know what the best options are for my son. Here's his situation. And you took time to share with him what you thought. And I thought that was extremely valuable, because here this parent is with a very important decision for their child, but they did not actually, they had already talked to the high school coach. They'd already talked to various college coaches, but they wanted to talk with you because you've talked with a lot of different people who've gone through the process. And, there's no cookie cutter process. Each situation is different, and it involves everything from grades to life to, playing time. And whether or not you're going to just be a preferred walk-on or a walk-on or what have you,
True. Everybody is talking about the Channing Tindall guessing game. Is he going to South Carolina? Is he going to Auburn? Would there be a surprise commitment somewhere? What's the latest you know about Channing Tindall there?
I feel pretty comfortable guessing Georgia in that guessing game. I think that now the big question is, does Channing Tindall sign tomorrow, or does he decide to wait? There's a couple of things at play there. I think, to me, and from what I've heard, Georgia has a pretty sizable lead here. And, if that's where he wants to be, by all means,
It's I didn't say nothing about no Georgia. I don't like no Georgia.
I think you're going to be disappointed.
I know.
I think it's Georgia, and I think the big question is, from what I've heard out of Spring Valley, is that they're saying he's not going to sign tomorrow. But I still wouldn't be surprised if he just said, "Okay, this is it. I'm going to Georgia." He just took an official visit there this past weekend. If that's where he wants to be, and hey, this goes to what we're talking about. Channing Tindall. Don't get me wrong, outstanding player. But Georgia's playing in the college football playoff in a few weeks. They got linebackers from all over the country who are probably interested in that spot.
Right.
So, if you're Channing Tindall, if you want to go to Georgia, then by all means, go ahead and lock that thing in would be my thought process on that.
I'm all for staying local. When you look at what the coaches here at the university, I think it's a great opportunity to play on that defense. So, me personally, if I had any type of advice, I'd say, hey, stay home.
Stay home. Hey, I take
stay home.
For him to be there along with TJ Brunson, I would definitely.
Well, that sounds real good right there.
Arnie besides Spring Valley.
Hey, let's go.
I might need to call Shannon talk about that. When we come back from the commercial break, we'll talk about some other recruits statewide, where they should be going, where they could be going. So stay tuned right here on the Walk-Ons. That'd be dope. Arnie and Spring Valley linebackers on Gamecocks, huh?
Hey man, I think he could hold down the middle and let TJ handle the outside, and then we bring in Lewis.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Hey, I take that in a heartbeat.
I'm going to tell you now, if this defense comes together the way that it's looking on paper, hey, man, it's going to be hard to get 2 touchdowns in Columbia next year.
Hey, look.
Well, much champion defense, I mean, it's only a matter of time.
That's a prodigy right there. That's a prodigy.
Yeah.
How long is this commercial?
We got 30 more seconds.
Okay, so when we coming back, are we still on the Gamecock?
We're going to go statewide. We might throw in some Gamecocks here and there. And then we're going to talk to Ramon. And then for the last report, you got something, Chris? Huh?
iHeartRadio is the way I get to you.
No.
Can they hear us on Facebook during the commercial?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah, but on iHeart, we're going to take all that out. We'll be going ham to a commercial break.
All right. Just making sure.
Yeah, well,
yeah, I see it.
Thank you.
We're going to ask this one question, and then we'll go to the statewide recruits from there. So that'll be your time to shine, too. The shine spotlight. Here we go, but come back from commercial break here. Welcome back to the show. Once again, if you got any comments throughout the night, go ahead and comment us on our Facebook page. Follow us on our social media on Facebook and on Twitter. And then also find us on our podcast. If you listen to it already, on iHeartRadio and on iTunes, go ahead and share that with all your friends and family. And then visit our website at www.freethinkersradio.com. As we are getting closer to Christmas, but I take this nice long Christmas break, so we won't see you until next year, January the 9th. So go ahead and follow our podcast, and we'd love to hear from you and share us and get the message out there. We got one question here on our Facebook post. KJ Henry, where is he headed?
Is he on my paperwork?
I think he's going to Clemson. He's been a guy that South Carolina's been in on as well. Georgia been in the mix, but Clemson, Virginia Tech have been the two that have been talked about the most. I think Clemson fans get really good news tomorrow. He's announcing, I think it's 4:20 on ESPN U. And I think Clemson's really been the leader there the entire time. I think now he's done his due diligence and visited a bunch of schools and sort of to me it almost always felt like he was trying to figure out, can anybody else beat Clemson? And I think that's where he's wanted to be for a long time. I think the Tigers will get good news tomorrow. Yeah,
looking at 247 Sports, they got him at 100% Clemson. So it won't be no big surprise if we get that tomorrow. KJ Henry going to Clemson. And as for many other upstate schools or upstate recruits. They either going to Clemson or somewhere nearby there. So just to see how that goes tomorrow on ESPN, which I personally, doing the recruiting commitment on ESPN or any other TV broadcasting company is pretty dope. And it's just if you can deliver.
Mm-hmm.
I do know for just watching over the years, we got guys committed to Florida and Florida State and LSU, and don't hear from them no more. I'm not gonna name the names, but
Yeah, well, that does happen, and that goes back to that selection process that we were talking about. You may like where you may like School A, you may like the uniforms at School A, but are you actually a fit for what they're doing schematically at School A? Are you going to have a chance to compete for a playing position or a starting position at School A? And I think it's a mix that has to go in to making that decision of where you're going to school. And each situation is different.
Oh, yeah. Some weeks ago, Kyle Wright from Bill Lippin decided to commit to North Carolina. Coach Fields, what do you think he could be an asset to North Carolina next year?
Well, I tell you what, they definitely want to make some improvements and strengthen up that box. Mm-hmm. And I think he can come in and strengthen the box for them and be, a 3-down player and help them get off the field. Definitely a talent, great body. I think that he's a cerebral player, and I think he will make their defense stronger.
Mm-hmm. Wes?
Yeah, and he's a guy that competes. I tell you, it seems like going to these camps, the camps at Ridgeview that we would go to, and then Carolina camp, 7-on-7s. And South Carolina didn't really do much with that kid, so he wasn't a guy that I was focused on. But then it seems like he was at every camp I went to this summer because he's a guy. And I like kids like that, and I respect kids like that. They just get out there. He was a guy, I'm going to try to get better, because I want to go compete.
That's it. In every drill, he's the first guy up on the line.
Yep.
His eyes are directly in your eyes, and you're speaking directly to him. And if you correct him on something, then he's going to come back and make that change. Those are the type of guys that change programs. True. Those are the type of guys you want in there in the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah, we actually had a game with Bill Lippin this year where they took on Hammond, and I believe their quarterback went down for the night. So he pretty much got most of the touches throughout the night, and he is a beast. He pretty much brought that team back. They didn't win the game, but the way that he plays and how he does take over was a sight to see. So what else he got on your list there, Coach?
Well, a lot of guys around the state that have piqued my interest throughout spring, summer, throughout the season. The guys that I look up to see what they're doing. DeMarcus Gregory. His father was a South Carolina State alum and had a lot of speed, a lot of heart. And I followed this young man's career, and I think that he is a big-time player. I was hoping that he was going to stay close by, but that didn't work out. It looks like he's committed to Ole Miss. Then you look at Eli Adams right out of South Point, a Virginia Tech commit. I mean, I've watched him for the last 2 years and watched him on tape, been up close around him. But I really began to see the winner within in that young man. I mean, he played us hard every down, but really a fine young man. Right here, local, Damian Daly going to Colorado State.
That's actually a pretty interesting commitment. You'll get to me those Colorado State's commits from South Carolina.
Well, actually, this is their second year, right?
They're starting to develop a pipeline there because they got Cam, the tight end from Ridgeview last year went to Colorado State.
Butler.
Ken Butler, yeah.
Butler.
And he played for them as a freshman this past season.
Game one, and had a catch. I believe he had a touchdown as well. So, hey, how much impact does that have in our community? You go all the way to Colorado State, and then on week one, you playing.
Yeah, and that's Dennis's brother.
Right.
That's at Carolina, Dennis Daly.
Yeah. Jamari Currents, lockdown DB, great range, is, going to be relentless and stay on you. and it comes from a good pedigree, as well. Tyler Gore at North
Great
Myrtle
kid.
Beach, yeah, super kid, yeah. I mean, they're guys that have that heartbeat that's to win, and these are the guys that I really try to keep up with. Trey Moore, Strom Thurmond, just a rangy linebacker, play with his hand down. His coach does a lot with him, and then our all favorite Quavian White. Quavian.
That's the steal of the state right there.
That
for
is.
Georgia State.
That is.
The job that Cedric Williams, Coach Stepp, coming back into South Carolina and recruiting. I've been saying forever that to me, as far as you look at a school that sort of recruited above what you would say their level is, and went in and snagged somebody, outkicked their coverage. That's the guy, and I thought he played well at Shrine Bowl this past week too.
He gives it all he has.
I know Georgia State, they recently won their bowl game. I believe. So
yes, first bowl game in school history.
And they also get D'Angelo Knight, and from what I see, Tyler Gore, the cornerback from North, like I said, North Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
So Trey Moore, Strom Thurmond. So they in good program stage for South Carolina. If coach, he knows his South Carolina roots. So he's going to try to steal something from the Gamecocks in Clemson.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. But, hey, when you look at it in this early signing period and on signing day, there's talent in this state, okay? I think that the coaches in this, the college coaches had their chances at these young men, and some of them that are leaving are not necessarily leaving because they had to leave, but they're making these decisions that's going to fit them best academically and as far as athletically getting playing time. But one of the things that I always keep at the forefront with Coach Muschamp, with him coming in his first summer here, the way he brought in all the players around the state and actually tested everybody. That had never been done around here. And I think that just changed recruiting in the state of South Carolina. And I think it also helped homegrown talent also get a look outside of the state.
True.
And I think Muschamp made those camps, especially the first year when you're limited to 10 in the summer now,
right?
But you didn't have that limit yet. And he had the most accessible camp I had so many high school coaches be like, that's the most accessible camp in the country because it was only $20 a head, and they had one about every day.
Yes.
So their thought process was if a kid does not camp with South Carolina, then he just doesn't have any interest because there's no financial excuse, for the most part, and there's no I had something else to do. Well, we got to camp tomorrow too, and we got to camp the next day. So his thought process was get as many of the guys in that have some interest in the program, and then get all that data.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Oh,
get all that data in one spot because data, as we all know nowadays, data is power, I think.
It drives the decision process. I think it's helped them be so pinpoint and targeted with who they want to go with. You talk about how engaged they are, and no matter once someone verbally commits or whatever and they stay on them, that's because they've got the data there to show, what these young men like, what they want to do, and what they can do. You come in and run a 4.5, you mean a little bit more.
Yeah, you do a 4.5 but still suck. Ain't no need to be on the squad. You can be on scout team or third string. But let's look at the type of commitments we got for this year. Most of the top recruits are from the Midlands, and then you got Upstate, which has the second most. So is that a sign of great talent here in the Midlands? Keep on building up?
Without question, in the Midlands, we have some of the best talent in the state.
Top 10. We'll come back from commercial break. We're going to talk to founder and owner of the Elite Positioning Training, Ramon Robinson. So
17, number 17.
Right here on the Walk-Ons.
Yo ho, this is Boom. Make sure you tune in to the Walk-Ons on freethinkersradio.com.
Let's get Ramon on the line.
I didn't know how that works. So you called him.
Oh yeah.
Hello.
Raymond, how you feeling, man?
What's happening, man?
Good. We're on commercial break, so we'll be back on in 20 seconds.
Okay. Hey, you got a headset? You got a headset? Yeah. They plug in?
Yeah, you might want to. You might want to get that headphone quick.
Ramon.
They training.
Oh yeah.
Say what now?
So you might want to get that headphone quick.
Yeah, I think that went out.
Oh yeah.
Ramon, how you doing, man?
I'm good, bro. What's happening?
Hey, man. Hey, I'm trying to learn how to do this media thing, man.
Hey, man. Hey, it's easy, brother.
Hey, I need you to give me some pointers on how to do this, man. I'm telling you.
You just go with the flow, bro.
Welcome back to the show. Make sure you follow us on our social media on Facebook and Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram. I forgot to throw that in there too at the beginning of the show. So also follow us on our podcast on iHeartRadio and on iTunes, and visit our website at freethinkersradio.com. On the line, we have founder and owner of the Elite, and get the name right, Elite Positioning Training and EPT Academy. And also, he used to play at Benedict during senior year here in All-State, All-Area Team Offensive Player of the Year, and the MVP award. That's just a few of the mentions of Mr. Raymond Robinson. How you feeling, man?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Doing good. It's early signing period, and we talk about some of the top recruits that here in the Midlands that is possibly going to elsewhere. You train some good QBs. As for Kelly Bryant, he's at Clemson from Calhoun Falls, Wynn High School. He also trained Drayton Arnold and Austin Scott, David Israel, Brandon Green, Jay Urich. Tell me about your academy. What do you do there?
Basically, what I do, I founded it in 2011 after I was playing professional football. I retired, and then I got into the coaching side of it, and decided, at the time I was burnt out, man, and decided what I wanted to do after football. And so basically, what I did was I sat down and started thinking. You always got to sit and think. And so at the time, that's when I got with a company by the name of VTO Sports, and Wes should know what I'm talking about. That's why I met Wes.
Yep.
I was traveling around the country with VTO Sports and Rivals.com at the time, and just going around and evaluating and training and putting kids through sessions throughout the country, not just in South Carolina. But
Still there, Coach?
guy came up to me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We got you.
Yeah, I'll never forget. A guy came up to me and he was speaking to me. He was like, "Hey, man," he said, "You're from South Carolina." I said, "Yeah, I'm here." He said, "Man," he said, "you need to get a hold of those quarterbacks down there." He said, "A lot of them, they have the height and the size, prototypical that most colleges want to see, but fundamentally they didn't have it." And at that time, that's when I'm thinking in my head, what is the next step for Ramon Robinson? At that time, I was caught in between, going back to school, finishing up my bachelor's degree, which I did do. And so it's like, what do I want to do now? At the time, I didn't want to do any coaching, but I wanted to help athletes. And so I took that conversation, and it was just like, Ramon, they need someone like you. And so basically what I did, I took it upon myself. I started my own business. And I started my business after I'm going across the country and I'm seeing different athletes. And I'm just like, we have great quarterbacks here too, and Wes has been a witness to that because he's been around. And it's just that, if the kids aren't getting the right exposure or getting the right toolage to better their game, they're always going to be lost and put in that athlete category like a lot of kids do. That, a lot of kids that's coming out of South Carolina, that's what happened with them, and so I took it upon myself and I started training. I was stretching far at the time. I had kids in North Carolina, Virginia, Alabama, Atlanta. I mean, my first kid I trained was Jonathan Wallace. He ended up going to the University of Auburn. He was at Auburn University, rather. And he graduated the other day with a master's. But I was stretching far at that time, man. And then I just got to the point where I said, I want to just concentrate on the reason why I'm starting elite position training. And the reason for starting elite position training was to help kids in every way possible, whether they could afford it or not. And that's why I made my business a 501c3, to where I can get businesses to come in, donate money to me, to where kids that are unfortunate to have, money to pay for sessions, then that way I'm able to sponsor the kids, on whatever level it may be. If you can pay, you pay. But my whole thing is kind of like the school system. I don't want to have no child left behind. You got what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I wanted to dot all my I's across all my T's when it came to being able to service all kids. And when I said, yeah, it's what I love to do. Yeah, I make money doing it. But at the end of the day, nobody knows what things I do for kids besides. Not every kid you see me posting is paying this and paying that. I show love. You got what I'm saying? It's just that if you're doing what you're doing, when you're doing what you're supposed to do in the classroom, being respectful, I'm going to show you love. Hey, you know what? This training session here, it's on me today. And it surprises a lot of kids. And those are the little things that folks don't see. That's behind the scenes stuff. All they see is, oh, I'm posting kids, I'm training kids, but it's deeper than that. It's deeper than making the dollar. It's just that I want to be able to help kids out and reach their goal of playing on the next level. And, ever since 2011, I've been, I act a fool, I cuss, but I don't need to be. But guess what? I know where my blessings come from. You got what I'm saying? I know who my Lord and Savior is, and he blessed me and he put me in this position to be that person, to serve in whatever way it needs to be, whether you like what I do or not. I'm doing it for the kids. You got what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. I'm embracing the state. I'm embracing kids in regards to helping them fulfill their dream. And, right now I have currently 23, 24 quarterbacks in college football right now.
And I'll step in and say this, but first of all, nobody works harder than Ramon at this stuff. But Ramon, I wanted to ask you, not that it's just South Carolina and Clemson kids that matter, but how cool was it for you? And I know you were in Columbia for the game. How cool was that for you, seeing Kelly Bryant run out of the tunnel and start for Clemson, and then Jay Urich dressed out for South Carolina? I know there's two guys you've been with on the field a lot as well, but off the field, I know you have tight relationships with both of those guys. What was that like, just to see a guy on a Clemson sideline and a South Carolina sideline, both major programs that you've personally trained?
Well, you know what, man, it's kind of like it was a dream come true. It's like you see these things happening, but you don't see them happening. You got what I'm saying? It happened so fast. And for it to happen, and I'm like that, I'm just like, man, I really got a starting quarterback at Clemson. I got one that's at South Carolina. You know what I'm saying? And that's not something that a lot of folks can say. It's training. You know what I'm saying? When you're talking about the two top schools that hate each other that last week of the season, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, I will say this, Ramon. I blame you for making Kelly Bryant so great. He was so great, we could have beat them this year.
Hey, man, you can blame me, but you know what? I can only give what I know and let the kids take it and put it out on the field. You know what I'm saying? And produce it. I tell kids, I get that all the time. Oh, man, you're a Clemson guy. Well, you know what? No, I'm a business guy. Okay,
there you go.
I used to be a Clemson. I am a Clemson. I'm Clemson all day long. I was born in it, but at the same time, when you get in this business, man, it's a difference, man. You servicing kids of all places. You got what I'm saying? I got kids at West Virginia, man, Georgia Southern. Miami of Ohio, South Carolina. I'm a fan of everybody because I got kids there. You got what I'm saying? But where am I? Yeah, I got Owen Jimmy, but at the same time, I know I'm being honest with you. I can give it to you like this. The first time I ever met Muschamp. Now, I had met Muschamp before. He came to Clemson. He came to South Carolina because he offered Kelly when Kelly was in the hospital sick with the sickness when he lost the weight. And I talked to him on the phone in regards to he offered him. But I told him straight up. I said, hey, man, Coach, don't shy away from me because, I like Clemson. I got a quarterback at Clemson. I've trained a lot of quarterbacks at Clemson, but at the end of the day, Coach, I'm a businessman. Okay? I say don't get it twisted when it comes to that. I'm not going to stir a kid away because of my likings to a school because of how I grew up. You understand what I'm saying?
True.
And that's kind of how I tell all the kids that come in to train. I get a lot of South Carolina kids, a lot of Clemson kids. I say, what class you in? I'm in the class. Listen now. They'll say, I'm in the class of 2023. Okay, what class you in? 2023. All right, I may have a session of middle school kids. It's 4 kids that may be Clemson kids, and it may be 4 kids of South Carolina kids, South Carolina fans, right? I say, well, guess what? How many of y'all think y'all going to Clemson? How many of y'all think y'all going to South Carolina? I said, they ain't going to offer all y'all. You understand what I'm saying? I say, they're not going to offer all y'all. So therefore, I say, guess what? What if Clemson offers you and you're a Carolina fan and this vice versa? I said, what's going to happen? Mm-hmm. Well, they're going to say, I ain't going there. I say you a lie because you know what? If Clemson don't offer you in South Carolina, you got South Carolina and you got some other smaller Division I schools. You think you ain't taking your butt there? You crazy, because that's called a full ride.
There it
you
is.
Know what I'm saying?
There it is. Hey, Coach, I want to ask you a question, though. I mean, we got a little script here. And we look at your 2018 list of students that are potentially signing. Well, Trad Beatty has already signed, correct?
He will sign. He's officially signing tomorrow. I will be in Columbia tomorrow, yes.
And Ben Batson, where are we with him?
Ben Batson right now, he has a lot of schools still flirting with him because he falls under that his dad is the head strength coach at Clemson.
Okay.
And I've personally had calls and I personally got permission from the family to let colleges know that this kid wants to be recruited and wants to make this decision from there. He has a lot of 1AA schools, and he's lost out on a lot of scholarships due to his connection with Clemson University. You got what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's bad for the kid because the kid, went from a 3A program up to a 5A, top contender and lost in the state championship by 1 point, and set some records in his first year at a different school. And show folks that he can play on a high level to where now you had something to come in, but the kid has lost out on a lot of opportunities for us with smaller Division I schools and Division I AA schools.
Right.
But right now he has on the table, he has South Carolina State, he has Citadel. I'm thinking Wofford is eventually going to come in. He had Army. Actually, the thing about it is Frost at UCF loved him right before he lost his job. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say lost his job. He took another job.
Yeah.
And but he's a sleeper in South Carolina that a lot of folks slept on. I mean, you talking about a quarterback that's 6 foot.
Hey, Ramon, hang on 1 second. We'll go to this commercial break. We'll bring right back at this commercial break. All right?
Yeah.
All right. Stay tuned, everybody, on the Walk-Ons.
You've made iHeartRadio the fastest.
Y'all feel good?
I feel great.
Awesome.
Good.
I don't know if I'm doing a good job, but I feel great.
What do you mean you're not doing a good job? You're doing a great job.
You're doing good.
Yeah. Raymond, you feel good, man? You good?
Oh, I'm good, brother.
Awesome.
Hey, Ramon, when you look at all your quarterbacks, I don't care where they play at, from Kelly, Jay, all your quarterbacks, it's one thing that you really see that your quarterbacks exhibit, and I think they get it from you, and that is calm under pressure and the ability to negotiate chaos. How do you do that? How do you teach that?
You know what? I guess if you're around somebody long enough, you start picking up their habits, man.
I mean, you take 6 of your guys and you put up 5 plays from 6 of your guys. You pick any 6 that you got. They all handle the rush up the middle well. They all handle the rush off the edge, and they handle the backside.
You know how I like the little rush line the edge myself.
Yeah, you should. And Ramon, I don't know if you know it. We used to coach together.
Oh yeah.
And
okay.
So I put the offensive game plan in on Tuesday, and he blitzing me on Tuesday. And I'm like,
hey.
What are you doing, man? I'm trying to get my offense.
Everybody knows what I call X. That's it.
I mean, it's JB, man. I'm trying to teach, and you blitzing me.
Hey, I ain't gonna say a quick story before we get back to it. When I used to coach B team, we had to go against varsity. And some of them days, I beat varsity.
That's
So
true.
that's a sign right there, head coaches from around the state. If I get B team, if I can beat varsity with B team, y'all better call me up.
You've done it. You've done it.
Welcome back to the show. We got Raymond Robinson from Elite Position Training Academy. Raymond, you was talking before a commercial break about the QB there.
Yeah, Ben Batson, Dorman. Yeah, he has a lot of offers. He has a lot of offers that he lost out on a lot of offers. Let's get that corrected in regards to his tie with Clemson, his ties to Clemson. But right now he's holding a few 1AA offers that he's waiting to make his decision upon. And he always has Clemson in the background, but I think he wants to go and be his own guy. So he's a sleeper, man. A lot of folks left out on him, and I was surprised to see that he wasn't on the Shrine Bowl or the North-South this year, man.
Mm-hmm.
How about Kerry Enos?
Kerry Enos. Oh, man. Kerry Enos is a quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the state, and I could say around in the country. It's just that he didn't get the ample opportunity to showcase his skill set while he was at Burns, and to where now, he's getting ready to sign a Division I scholarship, 1AA to Morehead State. And, unfortunately, the coaches saw his ability to be able to play on the next level to where they offered him. But he is a kid that is a sleeper to where I felt as though he was going to be a Power 5 kid.
Right.
I really did. But, sometimes it don't always fall that way. And sometimes you don't have to go that same path to get where you want to. Everybody got a different path that they have to take to get where they're going. And, and I feel like with him, he get into Morehead State, he get on a great weight room program and put on some weight. I really feel like he is a kid that you could possibly see playing on Sunday just due to his stature and if he get the weights, because he's a student of the game.
He is, and I agree with that. I'm a little bit biased. When we having drills and stuff, he would always throw good for me, and he could place that ball right where I asked him. But I was a huge fan of his. Now talk about Dwayne Garinger. Is it Garinger or Granger? Granger.
Let me tell you something. With that there. Now I've told a couple Division I schools, and I'm not going to say the names, but
yeah, that's a good thing.
I've told no, I'm not going to say the names, but
just roll them out there, Ramon.
Nah, I'm not going to do it. No, I told them. I say, hey man, I told them before the season. I say, hey, look here. I say I got a kid. Me and his uncle went to college together. I've been knowing the kid a long time. Mm-hmm. I worked with him a little bit. I say, but he stopped just because he wasn't getting an opportunity to play quarterback early on. Then we started back this past season during the spring and summer, started correcting a lot of things. He still has a lot of work to do. Now, I'm going to step out here and I'm going to tell you this. I'm telling you this from me being a quarterback instructor and coach. I feel like I know talent, but I'm going to tell you, if anybody would have took a chance on that kid, you had a poor version Lamar Jackson.
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
I say that. I say that and match the film up with the words. And at the same time, this is a kid that only had 1 year, and he did what he had to do. He did what he did on the field and led his team the way he did. At the same time, he was a dual threat quarterback. You're talking about a kid that's 6'4", 190 pounds, runs a 4.5 40, and he's a...
Uh-oh, I think we lost signal with Ramon. Hope not. So we got 2 minutes left in the show.
I don't know if we did.
He's gone. That noise.
Yeah. That's a bad noise to hear.
Yeah.
But Ramon talks about his program. There's 2 other people that's involved. There's really more, but 2 that I want to bring out, and that's Chachi Sullivan and Bobby McGowan's.
Hello.
Hey, you back, Ramon?
Yes, I'm happy.
Yeah, signal loss. But we do got 1 minute left on the show, so we'll try to wrap up real quick. But my quick question before we let you go, the difference between pro-style QBs and dual-style QBs. What direction is the best way to go if you like a big university try to go for, especially like in the SEC and ACC?
Well, right now the game has done changed so much to where right now, if you look at it, most dual threat quarterbacks, if you can't move in today's game right now, and I wish they, I know we got a minute left, but when we came through, it's either athlete or a quarterback. You got what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're a quarterback. So you can quit with the dual threat. You can quit with the pro style. Because my best quarterback in the NFL right now, he's a pro style, but that's Aaron Rodgers. And guess what? Aaron Rodgers can run.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So it's not a...
In Case Keenum also.
You want a quarterback that can move. You understand? You understand what I'm saying? You don't want a statue, okay? We're not looking for trophies. We get trophies at the end of the year, and they just sit. You got what I'm saying?
Good point.
And that's the way the game is going now. If you see a lot of guys that's sitting now, they can't do that. There's like nothing against Peyton Manning. It was time for Peyton Manning to go because the game had sped up so much. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I understand that part. Ramon Robinson, we thank you for calling in tonight on our show. Also, Coach Fields and Wes Mitchell.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. It was fun.
Thank you.
This will be it for this year. We'll be on our Christmas break until January. So go ahead and follow us, and we'll let you know we're going to kick off a brand new Walk-Ons radio season.
Richland Northeast football. Come out and see us.
See y'all next year. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. See y'all.
Bye.
Thank you, Coach.